Hey everybody, welcome to Arrow on Target.
Yes, this is the first real episode of this.
This is the first solid episode where we're going to be talking about the show.
Welcome on iTunes and welcome on YouTube.
Absolutely.
To our video channel.
This is the first time we've been on YouTube, so we took some time, set up the shot,
Yeah.
Got some lighting.
We've got a pretty picture in the background.
And my microphone stand, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so basically, today we're going to cover the first episode of the second season of Arrow.
That's confusing.
That's very confusing.
But yeah, if you don't know what's going on here, we host a show, podcast every single week called Stay on Target, and we have begun a new podcast series called Arrow on Target, focusing on Arrow, the television show on the CW about the Green Arrow.
And so basically every week after that show airs, by the next morning, you should hopefully have up online a video on YouTube, as well as an iTunes feed, that sort of thing, of a podcast of us talking about our thoughts on the show.
Yeah, so if you want to watch on YouTube, you can do that, and if you want to listen to the podcast, you can do that as well. This one will be a little off. It won't come out tomorrow, but it'll go that way from now on.
Absolutely.
So my name is Chris, right?
And my name is John.
And
you can follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. Mine is ChrisWright250.
And mine is JohnWright777.
All right, so let's dive right into this episode, John.
Okay. So moving into this episode, I mean, obviously I had some expectations of it, but you are kind of viewing this as like a new viewer.
Yeah, so...
Because you really didn't watch a whole lot of the last half of season 1.
Correct. I stopped about 10 episodes in. I've seen about the first 10 episodes.
And it wasn't that you didn't enjoy the show, it was just you didn't DVR it. So.
Yep, that was a mistake.
Yeah. And so basically, what kind of did you expect in season 2 as like a new viewer?
Well, I don't know, well, first of all, do we want to do a spoiler-free part, or do we just want to talk here? Is this a conversation? Let's just do a conversation.
I think we should probably just do conversation.
Yep. So spoilers, anyway.
We expect you to have seen the show or not care about getting spoiled, so...
Sure. So, basically, coming into season 2, after not seeing most of season 3, no one's seen season 3.
No one's season 3.
I was just kind of just thinking, I was almost expecting more of the same, more of the same of the first half of season 1, which this is not.
Right.
He's decided he doesn't want to be the vigilante. He doesn't want to be the hood. He doesn't want to kill people anymore.
Right.
I don't know what this world has come to.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things that I expected going into it. Being caught up on the seasons. I mean, his best friend just died. I mean, I expected something like...
Yeah, which is okay with me. I didn't really like Tommy in the first place.
It was a big shocker for me because all of season 1, essentially, they're building him up to be... They build him up to the point where you think he's going to turn bad, he's going to turn evil.
Yeah.
But in the end, he ends up not being evil and ends up kind of sacrificing himself for others. And
so it was a fake out.
Right. And so it was this all through season... It was a season-long fake out, man.
Yeah.
It was a long play. It was a long con.
It was a long con, yes.
So they build him up to where you think he's going to follow in his father's footsteps, Malcolm Merlyn's footsteps, and he ends up not being that guy. He ends up being the guy that, saves the day or potentially is a good guy. He's not a bad guy. So... Okay, so I had these expectations kind of going in that everybody would kind of be in this mode of shock, and that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't think, I mean, we got back and they're back on the island, right off the bat.
Yeah, okay, well, comparing this to the pilot, the first episode of season 1, nowhere even close as far as action, as far as the level of intrigue, as far as I felt like this was it very much felt like a rebuilding after a catastrophic event.
It did,
but
we didn't see the Arrow, who the show is named after, until maybe
the last 15 minutes of the
movie.
movie.
About 40 minutes in.
Yeah, and I hold this belief with superhero movies in general, or movies and shows, any kind of that, comics. I watch them because I want to see the superhero being a superhero. I don't like watching Superman walk around the United States for a year and Superman. I don't like, what was the movie recently, the superhero movie, and basically, there was, he just didn't have his powers for the entire thing. We talked about it recently.
Oh, it was Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine.
Yeah, we had a podcast about this.
He's not strong anymore. He's not Wolverine. This is, oh gosh. I want to see the superheroes being a superhero. So like to watch the pilot episode of, not a pilot episode, but the first episode of this season, and he's not being the superhero he is,
Yeah.
for the majority of the show, that just sucks.
See, it makes sense for me because as the big epic ending kind of as it went, it made sense that they needed this time to absorb things and to develop things. But man, I really wanted to see. I was like, by the time they showed Arrow, I really, really wanted to see the Green Arrow go out and fight some dudes. And
Right.
it was kind of a lackluster thing because he was like half-heartedly kind of beating up on these dudes anyway.
Right.
And so anyway, so basically we start off the season. Let's just kind of do a quick rundown of kind of the elements of the show. We start off the episode and we're on the island, which was very strange. And not only is Oliver on the island, Felicity and Diggle are parachuting onto the island, which I thought
Right.
was a cool moment, but it introduces these questions of if Oliver can, go and, go to the island and come back from the island whenever he chooses. I mean, I don't know what all those 5 years that he was on the island
well,
are about.
I don't really know what purpose that served other than to kind of bring the island back into the show as a place that they can go for flashbacks. Because that was the first place where he says, she says, Felicity says, did you live here? He said, for part of the time. And, then we start seeing flashbacks about that. And I think that all that was doing was getting the flashbacks rolling, which I didn't need. Like,
Right.
yeah, and honestly, coming into this episode, everything's in such disarray. Like, this is not even like, it doesn't even feel like the same show. And I like where they're going with some things, like Oliver actually running the business,
Right.
and being in charge. Although he's really not. He only owns 50% now.
That's a cool dynamic, though. You have to admit.
It's a cool dynamic, and it's cool to have Summer Glau in that in the show. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So like, there's that. His mom, who I thought was a really cool character. Like she's in
prison,
jail,
which I actually liked. I actually liked the aspect of her being in jail, the imagery they were using there, and then her as a inmate makes a little bit of sense because I mean, essentially, whenever she was out in the real world, that was the role they would come to her and introduce these ideas to her anyway, and so this allows her to become more of that mentor and motherly role than she was even outside of jail, outside of prison.
Yeah, that's just still ridiculous though. Like,
I don't know, man.
That's ridiculous.
I like the idea of her being there because I mean it takes her out of the game for a little bit and allows these other characters to mature and become their own people.
that's true. I mean, I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with the maturing, but like the dynamic between his family life and him being Oliver being a superhero, like that was interesting in the first one. And I think we did a recap last week. That's one thing I really liked, and I think they just took that and threw it in the rocks.
See, I mean, my thing is we had an entire season of him balancing these things, and we'll still definitely see some of that going forward as well, because not only is he going to have to balance his family or what's left of it, his his sister and his superhero side job, he's going to have to balance being a CEO or half of a CEO or own half of a company and run half the company and be, this guy.
Right.
So.
And I definitely commend them for like taking chances, like what you would expect from a normal like season 2 pilot like this is like catastrophic things happened and either they ignore it and everything's back to normal, or like by the end of the first episode back, everything's back to normal. And I do commend them for not doing that. Like Oliver would be back doing his own things. His mom would be back in charge of, Queen Consolidated, and along with his stepdad.
And I agree with you, that a lot of shows would do that. But I think in this instance, because they're viewing it, I mean, it is a comic character and they're viewing it more of like a comic serial.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's definite permanent change and there's permanent character development that happens that basically that you won't be able to ignore as things go on. Like you won't ever have a season like season 1 again.
Right.
You're going to have something different, and it's hopefully going to be just as cool, but it's going to be different.
Right.
I
which
think
is
telling
fine.
different stories.
I just think like right now, and it could like I could end up liking this season a lot more. But right now, where it stands, like it's in such disarray. They didn't do as good a job with this one as they did with the first episode of the first season, and establishing here's the world, here's the rules, and they already did it with season 1. Like they could do that, make it interesting, and do it all in an hour. Like it's not too much to ask.
I agree with you. There was way too much of. I feel like there was way too much in this episode of the emotional. Emotional like sidestepping where it was like we didn't really get anywhere with any of these characters,
Right.
but we were introducing the awkwardness with Laurel and all this stuff, and so I think that there was a lot of emotional baggage that this one carried along with it that I feel like was a little bit unnecessary, could have been cut. Let's get us, straight to the arrow. Let's get us straight to moving forward,
Right.
moving on as a character. I feel
Right.
like the entire episode, we were essentially sitting in neutral until about the last 20 minutes, maybe, where they kicked it in gear and they were like, okay, here's what this season's going to look like.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I like the direction that's going. Like I said, I like Oliver being in charge of Queen Consolidated.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's now kind of embracing a more positive version of the vigilante of the Hood.
Yeah.
And obviously he's going to be called Green Arrow or the Arrow or something
Right.
like that. They didn't reveal his new name.
Right.
I do kind of question the whole okay, well now I'm not going to kill people. Fine. It just seems like a huge drastic step for him to take, and I think they'll still have that battle, but that's something that made it more of a darker show,
Right. But I definitely think that, like you said, we'll think about it this way. On the island, we had one of the most brutal killings we've had so far on this
he
episode.
just beat a man to death.
Yeah, with a rock.
Right.
And so, I definitely think that we're going to be seeing the duality of that character where it's like, okay, well, the struggle that he has. I think that's an interesting dynamic to me. We may, in the end,
for sure.
strike a happy medium. But for now, I feel like his character is probably, he's sworn off killing. But, like I said, maybe later
Right.
in the season we'll strike a happy medium between kill or not kill.
Right.
So some of my favorite things with the episode, I loved so you didn't like the scene where or the jail scenes essentially, but the scene with Moira and with Thea, that was one of the most emotional scenes in the entire episode. That was the emotional high of the episode.
That was one that struck a chord because
Right.
that was the only one that really was relatable.
Right. It was definitely kind of one of those that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed the story with Thea more so than I ever enjoyed any of the stories with Thea in the first
that's
season.
weird because I really liked. I've always thought that Thea's character was a lot of fun, and
Man, she got real annoying later in the season.
I didn't see that, and maybe she did, but I like seeing definitely like seeing the mature side of Thea, and so we'll see how that plays out,
Right.
And I like that a lot, so
Absolutely. And it was kind of one of those with her and Roy. I like Roy as a character. You really never were introduced to Roy. You
no
didn't
idea
know
who he
was.
No.
I like Roy as a character, but he just seems very shallow to me in this vigilante side of
I
things.
think the thing about the show is all these characters are actually pretty complex characters.
Right.
They're not just copy and paste characters.
Right.
And Roy to me feels like he's just right now, at least he's just oh man, I know the right thing to do in all situations, and
See, I don't know
it's
so
just
much
kind
of
of
that.
copy and paste.
I feel like he kind of just is kind of one of those ignorant characters that doesn't know what to do but thinks he does.
well, that's what I mean.
Where
I didn't mean he actually does. I mean that's his attitude.
Gotcha. But he's
And-
kind of just an immature Oliver to a certain extent. Very much so, where he has a bone to pick with people who are
Not really. He has a bone. Maybe he has a bone to pick, but he doesn't go about it the right way or the same way. He
Right.
doesn't have that. He doesn't have that complexity within him
Right.
to lead two double lives. Thea knows what he's doing. He's going
Right.
out and doing it. He's not. No, he's not at all like Oliver.
right. So you wonder where that character is going to end up. You wonder if he's going to eventually meet up with Oliver, because other than the time that Oliver saved his life, he really hasn't had any interaction with Oliver.
Right.
And you wonder how that'll play out. There's also another vigilante that they introduced near the end of this episode that I'm not sure how I feel about just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the blonde at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is the thing. This is what's happened. This is alluded to in a lot of ways throughout DC's properties. You have the Green Arrow showing up in Starling City. He's obviously going to attract some crazy people,
Right.
And that's what's happening. That's
Right.
what happens with Batman.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's what happens with Superman. Actually,
yeah.
Superman on a larger scale because we have crazy people coming to our planet, not
Yeah.
just a city. But that's basically what happens in
Yeah.
these situations, and that's correct. Like, that would happen. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with her being there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just I'm not sure like that action part to me felt a little bit contrived and it just
Yeah.
felt a little strange to me that the mysterious blonde and I'm gonna go ahead and make the bet she's Black Canary.
Yeah.
Just gonna go ahead and lay that out there. That's the bet I'm making.
Yeah, it definitely felt contrived. You know, like, you know, we just want to get her character on screen.
Right. You know, but then again, I guess I believed it whenever Roy lied to Thea and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some burgers, but I'm really gonna save these people and get my butt kicked." You know,
Right,
that sort of
right.
thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I believed the situation. I just like felt like at the end, throwing it in at the end was just kind of one of these, you know, kind of a throwaway moment to me that I feel like you could have cut back on and introduced her next time and put maybe a little bit more of the action with Oliver or something in
Right.
it. So
yeah, like I said, I feel like the pacing was a little off in this, but I'm overall, you know, pretty positive about this episode.
Absolutely. You know, they made a reference to Central City at
Right.
one point, and so that's the big first introduction to Flash's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested to see when he comes into play.
Yeah.
And how that'll all work out.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the expansion of this universe, you know, to Flash, and honestly, I hope it connects to the movies. That's what I hope it connects to is Man of Steel and, you know, the new Batman,
Right.
New Gotham, and actually, you know, with the Gotham TV show, it probably won't take place in the same time period. Is the
Right.
way they'll probably get away with that.
And it may not even take place in the same, you know, universe or timeline even.
I mean, hopefully it's the same universe.
So.
Like that's what DC needs. Marvel has all of its properties in the same universe. That's what DC needs is all of its properties in the same universe.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you know at least with maybe some shows. I mean, if we come out with a Flash show, if we come out with like a Black Canary show or something
Right.
like that. I mean, I feel like those are definitely some ways that it could expand the universe that way.
Yeah, DC's in a very unique position aside from Marvel in that it has control of all of its properties.
Right.
You know, we can see. You know, like, okay, so Marvel has all their big screen characters, and then they want to make a TV show. So what do they make a TV show about? They make a TV show about Shield agents, not actual like
Yeah, not the actual heroes
right,
behind
and not their big properties. And so
Right.
what DC's doing is taking their bigger properties and trying to make shows out of them. Flash,
Right.
one of their biggest properties.
Yeah.
You know, you have Green Arrow, which is like you know, on the lower end, but it's still great property. And then Gordon, and so. Like, I think just tying all this in only strengthens them, only strengthens
Absolutely.
the shows, and strengthens the movies.
Yeah, and just strengthens the overall market presence of the same universe, you know, and I just definitely feel like that's something they should do moving forward. I'm not sure how much we'll see of that between kind of the Fox show Gotham, or
Right.
Is it Gotham?
It's Gotham.
Is it Gotham? Yeah, Gotham next year, and as well as with the movies. I mean, I'm just not sure how that'll all play out.
Right.
It would be nice to see this Arrow actor as the Green Arrow in say like a Justice League movie in a few years, 5 years or
That'd be great.
something. But we'll see how that plays out. So that kind of covers the episode for me. But things that I'm excited about moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the business dynamic and the personal dynamic between Summer Glau's character and Oliver. I'm excited to see those two people go head to head. And obviously, there's already been conflict. She tried to buy his company. She tried to steal his company away. And so, I mean, obviously, there's conflict there already. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see where that develops to and how that interplays with the Arrow aspect. I'm also excited to see the trial of Moira. I'm excited to see kind of where that's going. They kind of alluded to the fact that they're going to have a trial and that there's going to be a jury and that, so I'm excited to see where that develops to. I'm also excited to see way more of Arrow, of the actual
for sure.
Green Arrow action, because we, again, didn't see very much of it this time at all. So,
Yeah. But overall, like, it was a good start. Like, I'm excited about where the season's going.
Absolutely. And you can't have all, punches, and you can't have all this stuff. I mean, you got to build back up from somewhere. They've introduced some really cool ideas. and introduce the new vigilantes. The crazies that are coming
Villains,
into town. And
basically.
the villains and well, not just only the villains, but they've introduced with Black Canary and that sort of thing. So
Right. I think she'll be a villain.
You think she will?
Yeah, for a while at least.
Okay.
He'll be like. I mean, I don't think that Oliver is going to like any other vigilante operating in Starling City.
Right
Like
on.
that's why he's decided he's going to come back. He's not going to like it, and so
Right on.
like at least for a while they will be at odds.
Okay. I can see that. I can for sure see that. I'm excited to see if he ever says, "You have failed this city again."
I liked that line.
That was a great
That was
line.
a fun line. It was cool to see like it used against him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was definitely turned around on him this time. And so it was like, hey, you could see how this feels, Oliver.
You failed this city.
You failed this city.
Right. You failed this city.
You know, and so anyway, I'm super pumped to see how everything moves forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have anything else?
Nope. No, I think that's it. So make sure you check in next week for our take of episode 2, and also on our main podcast we'll be talking about probably a review of Before Watchmen, and talk about that. So check out that as well. You can go to our website at stayontargetpodcast.com. Check us both out on Twitter at ChrisWright250.
And John Wright 777.
You can find our main podcast at Stay on Target Pod, and Stay on Target Podcast, Facebook.com/Stay on Target Podcast. So we'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target.